So it's officially spooky season, and we finally get to kick it off with one of our favorite clowns in town, except for the people that got to see Joker early last month, and the rest of us normies have to wait another 3 weeks before we get to bask in that awesomeness. But I'm fine. It's fine. Hey guys, Blaze here, and today I'm going to be reviewing It Chapter 2, the sequel and closing chapter of the first film, It, directed by Andy Muschietti and written by Gary Dauberman. In the case that you're preemptively ready to debunk anything I say in this review via the cited evidence of the ancient text, I just want to let you guys know that I've read it, okay? As in a fraction of it. And you know what? Eventually I'll finish it. I'm on chapter 7, okay? So like I'm a quarter of the way through, but that's for a different video. But I want to preface by saying that not everything in a book can translate to film fluidly, and I'll solely be judging this film as a film, and with occasional book inserts. But other than that, let's get into the review. So the film picks up after its predecessor, except 27 years later, and Pennywise rises from what was only supposed to be a 45-minute nap and is ravenous, and it leads to a string of bodies here in Derry, Maine, which calls the attention of the Loser Club. Instantly, this film eases you into a hate crime, and yeah, it's in the beginning of the book, and it's supposed to serve the purpose that Pennywise is making his grand return. But I was like, already? We're just Pennywise is just dropping bodies like it's presents on Christmas. And it's not just kids, it's anybody and everybody. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, gay, straight, a lampshade, Pennywise doesn't discriminate until he does. So the whole premise of this film relies on these 6 characters to find these items from their childhood that they appreciate the most and then burn it because ancient rituals, and Pennywise is a 6 billion-year-old shapeshifter demon and it'll kill him, but it doesn't. So what is the whole point? But this whole thing leads us to Mike, and I am bitter about what they did with his character. Alright, excuse me while I get into my reader's costume. Okay, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant. This film fixes a lot of the gripes that I had with the first film, but at the same time, the whole Mike situation isn't better. So, the whole point of Mike staying behind makes 0 sense. In the book, Mike is supposed to be the historian character, the one that knows everything about Derry, Maine. They gave the historical role to Ben. If anything, Ben should have stayed behind, but no, Mike stays behind and learns everything about the curse because there would be yet another useless minority character for the books. As if he weren't already! But alright, we're done with that whole show. So Mike calls the Loser Club, and it's very apparent that they've all forgotten their lives in Derry, even though some of the things that they've experienced in Derry carries over to their adult lives. And whether it's magic or voodoo or some sort of defense mechanism, you can see that they've suppressed the traumas that they left behind in Derry. And I would forget too, there was a murderous clown that ate my brother in a storm drain. And for the duration of the film, there are several callbacks to the previous film and their child selves, so it blends the memories of both the past and the present. And I enjoyed these segments of the film, but at the same time it made me go, where was this in the first film? It just seemed like excess from the previous one, and I went into this film knowing of like the CGI that they had to use on the child actor's face, like de-aging technology, and I just couldn't unsee it, okay? Like the worst one was probably Ben, and it just looked weird to me for some reason, especially with Richie Tozier, because again, they use the de-aging effects, but there's nothing you can do with like height-wise, so he's taller than what he was in the previous film. Yeah, there's just tiny little things that kind of distracted me every time I saw them on screen, but I thought it was pretty good for everyone else otherwise. Which we're getting a super cut of the film, and I don't really know how I feel about that. Honestly, I would just watch an entire movie of just the Loser Club being kids. It's very much a character-driven film, which, whether you've read the books or seen all the movies, I think we can all agree that this casting deserves a big ol', just a good old slow, awkward clap. Because Rich Delia, he kills it with this casting. When I saw those young actors versus their adult selves, I was like, yep, that's the future. Stanley, though, let's just say was short-lived. I mean, apparently he didn't make the cut, which no pun intended. That was not meant to be a pun. And of course, I'm gonna be jumping on the bandwagon of praises as Bill Hader as Richie absolutely crushed it. I mean, dude's character arc is so well written. It just brings so much to this film. Not to say that anyone else in this film doesn't deserve their fair share of roses, but Bill Hader really stuck out for me. But I think the actors who play Richie and Eddie really sells the friendship between them all. I mean, I could rank them. Okay, maybe I can rank them. So it's Bill Hader as Richie, then it's Eddie, then everyone else sort of competes for the number 3 spot because they're all so good. And of course, all praises to the dedication of Bill Skarsgård. He really brought it in this film, really dived into the role and made it his. Honestly, this guy is blowing up so much, I can't escape him in my recommended feed. Like, I have not watched anything related to him, and every time that I say I'm not interested, just more Bill Skarsgård everywhere I go, okay? I'm not trying to get attached. I'm really just trying to live life. I will follow you on Instagram, but that's as much as I can handle for now. But I feel like in certain areas, this film does fall flat and short of what it did in the first film. Which, in this film, there are so many things that they could have developed more and fleshed out if they hadn't wasted it on such frivolous things. Which brings me to my next point. Why is Henry Bowers and Kylo Friend over here just driving around town, stabbing people in the cheeks? Like, what is the point? What is the point? They're over here looking like the cast of Dukes of Hazzard. They contribute nothing. Another point is the old lady that you see in the beginning of the trailer. Apparently, she is the daughter of Pennywise, which I don't know if that's actually true or anything, but that could have been a developed thing that would have went on throughout the storyline. They never bring it back up. It's just a one-time scare. But at the same time, it's understandable because if you look at the runtime of this film, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. My God. Some of the scenes that I said were frivolous and like useless to the entire plot of the story could have been edited out and could have shortened down this film for more plot development or character development, whatever you need to the story. The editing is also a little weird because they tend to hang on a certain shot and have that still image becomes this sort of creepy moment when really it just comes off as, did the projector freeze? Which it's fine to have that as a creepy moment, but at the same time, it just seems like you're really trying to hit that 3-hour mark. So the pacing is also a little weird in this film, but I'm not denoting the cinematography. It was great, and I was entranced the whole way through. But then there are these action sequences that don't really need to be there. When they're in Pennywise's house, they exhibit the same amount of scares that they had when they were little. So they're seeing the same things that they were scared of when they were little. I would figure there's some sort of maturity or growth at least, but I guess not. I mean, their perspectives as adults have changed from when they were kids. Okay, so there's a storm coming. Apologize for the lighting, but that's just the way it is. When I was a kid, I was terrified of Ghostface, and I'd have nightmares where I'd be killed by a garage door, or he'd call me up and already break into my house, but now I'm a decade older and all I see is poorly thought out character design. This film feels like I'm watching the retelling of the same story with a different ending. So in my opinion, Chapter 2 sort of drops the ball in all of its strengths that it had in the first film. The pacing was better, the action scenes and scares were a lot better, and I felt more inclined to watch the movie a second time than I do with this one. Even though this movie isn't absolutely garbage, it's an emotional investment that I had to put some time in to watch this movie. It's almost 3 hours long, and with the first one I can just pop it in anytime I feel like watching some kids get eaten. But in general, I think this movie would be a good time with friends, because friends make everything better. But what did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Comment down below along with your theories and inquiries and I'll respond to them as soon as possible. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy my content. Also follow me on my social media links because fun stuff happens there sometimes. But anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely day and I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.